Hey everyone, thanks for being here on Housing Jersey. I'm Jay Everett, and on today's show, why is it so critical to get a trusted inspector, a quality inspection report, and know all of those things that might be a risk to you financially and health and safety wise? On today's show, some answers from someone who's a licensed home inspector. So, hey, everybody, thank you so much for being here on Housing Jersey with me. And my guest today is an expert that you would want to have around if you were looking to buy and maybe even sell your home. He's a home inspector, and his name is Steve Taylor. Steve, would you mind introducing yourself and telling people what you do and what your organization does?
Absolutely. Thanks, Jay. Nice to see you. Uh, so I'm a home inspector. My name is Steve. I've been a home inspector for 18 years now. Uh, I've started in New York, and now I'm in New Jersey. Uh, I've been an electrician for 20 years. I've been in construction for 20 years. So I have a vast background of everything from putting up studs to sheetrocking to electrical to plumbing. I could practically build a house myself, and that's really what you want to see in a home inspector.
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's really awesome. I didn't even know how much depth of experience you have, but that's really cool. And like you say, important. And one of the things that people sometimes may overlook when they're buying a home or looking to sell their home is why that inspection is so important and what are the key things that are important about it. What from your perspective is so important about the inspection in terms of making sure you have a great transaction?
Well, people that buying a house, it's the one of the biggest purchases they'll ever make. So they go in there and they're looking at where they're going to entertain, where they're going to hang the TV, what baby's room is going to be, where they're going to park their cars and put their pool. They don't look at the structure, uh, if there's cracks in the foundation, if the roof is bad. They don't look at any of that stuff. So when I go in, I will go in and make sure, because I don't care about where the TV is going to go. It means nothing to me. But I do care that they're buying a good house. So I'll tell them exactly what's going on with the roof and the electrical system and the plumbing system. And with all this information, they'll decide if they want to continue buying the house or if they need stuff fixed, and they could negotiate a better price maybe if there's big enough problems.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like you said, when someone is involved in the process of buying a home and talking with their realtor, they're looking at photos, but they're not looking behind drywall or seeing the bones of the house. So that is really a great point of emphasis. And I think one of the things that is maybe of interest right now is in the world as we know it, considering the pandemic that's been going around, how has work changed for you in terms of your ability to actually do a good inspection and get those results to a potential buyer? What have you had to do and your business associates in terms of adapting your procedures to be safe?
Luckily, I already wore gloves. I already wore booties. I don't go into anybody's house with my shoes on because I don't want to track in any germs anyway. So I've always worn booties in people's houses. The only thing that's really changed is that I wear a mask while I'm going around. Uh, I will, at the end of the inspection, talk to my clients, but we'll be 6 feet apart. And during the inspection, I usually try to make them not either not come or not stay in the house or have as few people as possible during the inspection, because a lot of times in the past, the mother, the father, the sister, the brother, the aunt, the uncle, they will all come to the inspection. Nowadays, you can't do that.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And, when you are doing your inspection, Steve, and going through a house, what do you like to remind your clients about in terms of the emphasis points that you're looking for? And then what are those things that, to your point earlier, what are some of the common things that get overlooked by someone who's blinded by how nice a house might look that they're not considering, but that are really the key focus points for you as an inspector?
Well, while I'm doing the inspection, there's sometimes there's a finished basement, so you can't see the foundation, but it will translate to cracks upstairs that people will say, okay, it's just a crack. I'll know through my experience that it's not just a crack, it's a crack because something settled or something's damaged downstairs. Even though I can't see behind the walls, I can definitely deduce what's going on behind the walls. Uh, I will, most of the time, you see bad wiring. So it'll be an outlet that has the hot on one side and the neutral on the other side. It should be reversed. GFIs that don't work, that's very, very common. A lot of times you see windows that are broken, but the bigger things that are more important for the home inspection, because all that stuff can easily be taken care of. You want to make sure you have a good foundation, good structure, and a good roof. All those other things are very simple to fix.
Sure. And just for everyone who might not know, what is a GFI? It's a certain type of outlet structure, right, around water sources. Can you just
Right.
explain that?
So GFIs are required. It's called GFCI actually. It's ground fault circuit interrupter. Uh, they're required outside in unfinished basements, garages, kitchens, bathrooms. It has circuitry in it that constantly checks the hot to ground, and if it senses any type of difference up to 5 milliamps, it'll shut the circuit off, because 5 milliamps or more, you could actually get killed if it goes through your heart.
Sure. So it's a safety device for those types of outlets that are
Yes,
nearby, especially the water, and it can be reset if it gets tripped. So yeah,
correct.
always something that, maybe it looks like a typical outlet, but you don't really realize how important it might be to being safe as a home for your future. So that's a really great point. In terms of some of the specialty inspections that I know there also are, Steve, can you just shed some light on those types of things? I know sometimes people don't necessarily pay attention, but if you have a fireplace or if you have a septic system, sometimes those are things that
Yes,
even require a special inspection in order to make sure that you're comfortable with the purchase.
yes. So septic systems are usually, you would get a septic company to come out and take a look at that, because they need to be pressurized. So that's a specialty thing on its own. But a normal home inspector will do a radon test, wood destroying insects, oil tank sweeps, sewer scopes. Those are things that you add on as you need them. Some people don't need any of them. Some people want all of them, and then you can pick and choose. It's important to know, especially in certain parts of New Jersey where radon could be really high. Certain levels could give you lung cancer. You have a 15 out of 1,000 chance of getting lung cancer at certain levels. So it would be very
Right.
important to have to know what you're up against, because it could be mitigated so easily.
Right. And just for everybody who might not have ever heard of that because it's not in your area, but radon is a gas, a chemical gas that can come, and predominantly you would find it in the lower levels of the house because it seeps up through the ground, right, Steve?
It's produced from decaying uranium below the ground. And it finds little cracks and crevices and works its way up to your foundation. And that's where it comes into the house.
Right. So, these are things that a trained inspector can really help identify as a potential problem. And it, like you said, can be important because you don't want to discover it after a transaction and then have an expense you didn't incorporate into the purchase price. Um, are there things that you think about, Steve, in your position that you see people maybe making a mistake in terms of looking at what they're looking at with their inspector that you would emphasize differently? What should people expect from a good home inspector and a good home inspection report?
The inspection report should be clear, simple to understand, where you're not reading words that you never heard before, and it should be given to you with pictures. Uh, a good home inspector will explain things as he finds them or at the end of the inspection, so you know what you're going to get on the report. He will be there if you have any questions a month, 2 months, 3 months from then. And he needs to be knowledgeable. In New Jersey, I think to get a home inspection license, you 160 or 180 hours of schooling. That's great. It really helps you a lot. But after that 180 hours, you can't go to a house and say, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. You need the experience. You need to be able to build a house in order to do an inspection.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's really helpful. And like you said, being familiar with the various trades that are going into building a house, like HVAC and plumbing and electrical, those are all really critical things that take some level of familiarity with the expertise. So I really appreciate that perspective. Other than the things that we've talked about, Steve, what else would you be talking to someone about, or want someone who would be viewing or listening to this program to understand from your end, in terms of what they should be thinking about in terms of the purchase of a property?
I think that everybody who is buying a house should use a home inspector, no matter who it is. Even a bad home inspector will give you information that you didn't have before. Everybody who's selling a house will save tons and tons of money from concessions if they would know what's wrong and are able to fix it before they sell the house. It's so important for the buyers to pick somebody that they trust. Now, some people get it from their lawyer. They'll get the home inspector from their lawyer, from their realtor. No matter who they get their home inspector from Google, as long as they feel that they can trust that person and that home inspector is working in their best interest, that's really all that matters.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's really a great point, Steve. And you want to be able to trust the information, and you want to be able to trust the person that you're dealing with, and someone who can communicate effectively with you, so you can use that information to make the best decision possible on, like you said, the biggest investment of a lot of people's lives. So I think that's really important. So, hey, Steve, thank you so much for taking the time to be here and join us, and really appreciate the information, sir.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.